Hey friend, Roger Christofferson here again with another first listen review. It was kind of a slow week this week, not a whole lot of big releases coming out, but before I get to babbling, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to keep this music alive, because that's what we do in here. We talk and we babble about music that we love. I do most of the babbling, obviously, and we're talking about Alcatrazz this week, and they have a new album of old songs called Prior Convictions. I have to give them kudos for the clever title. That's kind of cool. I mean, that's clever anyway, let's put it that way. Now, for me, Alcatrazz is this band. They had like this, they were known for having two of the most ultimate guitar players, shredders, back in the day anyway, when they first started out, and I think it was like 83-ish through late 87, I think, is about when they disbanded. So very short period of time there. I mean, it's only a few years, but it was known for having Graham Bonnet on vocals. He was like the powerhouse vocalist that everybody kind of knew from Ritchie Blackmore and Rainbow. And first guitar player in this band, so like recorded stuff anyway. I don't know if there was something before that, maybe, I don't know. It was Yngwie Steve Vai, who I'm going to brag a little bit. I've had the joy of actually being able to do a show. My band did a show with him. I didn't play with Yngwie and himself, but we got to meet him, hang out with him, and that's just been one of the highlights of my musical career, so it was pretty cool. And I personally got to meet Steve Vai as well, who's the second guitar player in this band, when he was out touring with Whitesnake, like way back in the day. I was actually lucky enough to be helping out with sound for a little bit, and I got to stand on stage off to the side with Steve Vai watching Kiss play at one of the shows. It was like one of the weirdest experiences of my life. So I just have to get a little bit, anytime I get the chance to tell that story, I have to like kind of squeeze it in there because it was such a cool thing. But anyway, so this band, I was a big fan of these guys, and I got to meet a couple of them, like I mentioned. Never got to meet Graham though. So this band was cool. They had a very unique sound. They didn't, you wouldn't picture them being like the hair band or anything like that. They kind of went more that way when they got Danny Johnson in the band. And that was kind of like just the way it was. Now, as time has gone on, they've changed a lot of members. They've gone through a lot of members. When they got back together in 2006-ish, I'm not going to go through all of that. I'm not going to go through everybody they've had in there, but just to mention a few of the members they've had. Clive Burr was actually way back early on as well, but since then they've had a few different people jump on in, and had like Jeff Loomis on guitars for a little bit there in more recent years. And the new guy, Joe Stump, is like phenomenal, great guitar player. He's only been with them since 2019 though, so it's very strange. And they have a brand new vocalist taking over for Doogie White, who was in there for quite a while. And they've had a lot of people who I actually really don't know the history of, but that's some of the standouts for me. Bobby Rock played with them for a little bit, so they've had some big name people, at least I think big name people in the band, but it's constantly changing. This new version, I thought, I was mistaken, I had to look to be sure. I didn't think it had any original members in it, but it does. It's got Jimmy Waldo and Gary Shea, two guys in it. So I guess when I was listening to this, I just kind of threw it in, listened to it, and I was like, it's kind of weird listening to a band that doesn't have like people in it doing these old songs, the original people. But I was wrong. There's a couple original people in it. I don't even know why I'm admitting that, but just because it changed the listening experience, I guess, for me. It's not really a band that I have followed closely since they reunited. I did when Graham was involved, but once he stepped aside, I kind of lost interest. I like Doogie White. He's been cool. I liked what he did with Rainbow. But I just kind of lost interest a little bit. When I saw this was coming out, I figured I'd pick it up and give it a chance. It's always kind of fun to hear when bands go and revisit their old material. So that was kind of what kind of drug me in. Plus there's a couple new songs on it. The thing I've noticed a lot about the newer version is Joe Stump, to me, sounds a lot like Ritchie Blackmore. It sounds like Ritchie Blackmore really influenced his playing. He's got that Stratocaster sound. I don't even know if that's what he plays, but he has that Stratocaster sound. He plays a lot of the same style that like the classical type sounding stuff, the Middle Ages type sound, like the stuff that Richie's doing now, actually. It has that sound to it. So I like his guitar playing. I like the stuff that Joe, he's got a couple solo things going on, the Tower of Babel or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it's called. I've actually got the albums too, and they're really, really good. Those albums are killer. And I did like the last Alcatrazz albums. I gotta admit, I liked what they sounded like, but it was just weird because to me it's just not, that doesn't sound anything like the Alcatrazz I remember listening to back in the day. The styles completely changed from anything. Even though they had 3 different guitar players on those early albums, they somehow had a unique style to it, and it wasn't like easy to pinpoint. But anyway, getting back to this new album, I've just kind of babbled on and on about that, which I didn't plan on doing. But the 2 new songs on here, they kick in, they start the album off. Transylvanian Requiem and Stand and Wait Your Turn. They're good songs. They're decent, rockin', cool songs. I actually did enjoy them. If this was a whole album of newer stuff, I would have been fine with that. I actually really like those 2 songs. If they're all like that, and whatever they do again, or coming up next, I should say, I'll really like those. If they stick with that style, they were good. The new singer, I don't know. His voice was took a little bit getting used to. It does not sound anything like Graham Bonnet or Doogie, to me, quite honestly. He still has that range, but he doesn't have the power like Graham has. Graham has just a very unique way of singing like this. He's always sounds like he's singing at the top of his lungs in the most powerful capacity he has. To me, that's just what he sounds like. He's like always at the top of his peak. Whatever he's doing is just like always right there in your face. So he has a very unique sound to his voice, which I don't know of anybody else that actually sounds like that. I can't think of anybody at all that comes to mind that sounds like that. So there was no way in the world this guy was going to sound like Graham, because I've never heard anybody sound like that. However, I did enjoy it. But comparing it to what, at least on the cover songs anyway, which is what I'm getting to, way different. Just way different. Joe's guitar playing is way different. Of course, the production style nowadays of things, a lot different. And I'm not a big fan of the more modern production style where everything is, especially the drums are like just, sampled, and they don't sound like a real person playing drums. Like you get a real person playing drums, it seems like they take as much effort as they possibly can putting it to the grid and making everything quantized and sampled so every hit sounds exactly the same and in time. And I kind of get that feeling on this is what they did. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of the sound of God. It has that modern production style where they just take all the life out of the drums. And of course, when you do that, the other instruments tend to follow suit, because now you're playing what's almost a click. I know I'm really beating this thing up, but the guitar playing on this album is actually really killer. Completely different style than his predecessors. But so the interesting thing was hearing these songs re-recorded with a different vocalist and the guitar playing. It's funny because the guys that are have been in the band and are the founding members are the least contributing to the sound of what's happening here on this album. So I mean, hate to say it that way, but that's just kind of the feeling I got from it. Jet to Jet was a cool song, re-recording of it. They did a good job, like I said, but it sounds like Richie Blackmore to me, trying to play old, Alcatrazz songs. It was really a weird experience. Star Carlene was good. I didn't actually really remember that song too well from the earlier one. However, Hiroshima Mon Amour and Island in the Sun, those 2 songs were like staples, for me listening to, which sounded well done. The guitar playing, once again, I thought was really good. It didn't sound anything like the originals, but their version of it I actually enjoyed. The singing on it, of course, like I've said already, repeatedly too many times already, it doesn't sound anything like Graham, but I like these versions of it. Too Young to Die, Too Drunk to Live was okay. The God Bless video, which is funny because I never really cared for that song, honestly. Way back, the big video hit that they had. I guess the only really big, maybe you could say the same for Island in the Sun, but that one, I actually like this version of it a little bit better. It was a little bit more rockin' than that earlier one, which I know it's kind of blasphemy to say that, but I actually kind of like this one quite a bit. And then you got Skyfire, General Hospital, and Cray Nakari. I don't even know how you say that, quite honestly. Ending the album off, decent versions of that, but in my opinion, the originals were still better, although it was fun listening to these versions of it. So overall, there was one song of the remakes that I actually enjoyed maybe a little bit more than the rest. The two originals on here I thought were really killer, and the rest were fun to listen to. There was nothing that I thought was horrible or, blasphemy or anything like that. So overall, I enjoyed it. I just hope they don't do any more things like this and just stick to the original recordings of their newer songs. So, and I've gotten everything, even the stuff I said I don't listen to a lot, I've gotten it all. So I'm sure I will. So until then, we'll see you.